So I'm working on this mobile app for a client, and it has user sign-ins, and of course users forget their passwords. So I designed a reset your password feature into this app, and I want to share the system design behind it, the architecture behind it, how it works, why I made the decisions I made. I think it's a great case study for building features when you're working for a company versus building the whole app out, how you think about features from start to end. First, I added a reset your password button to the sign-in screen. So you click on that, then it takes you to a new screen where you can enter your email address to reset your password. I'm gonna enter in my own email address. I know it's KG.codes reset. It's gonna say success, please check your email to reset your password. That's gonna send an email in the back end to this email address. So here's the email, basically from Cut Corners. Click the link to reset your password, reset password link. This link will expire in 30 minutes, that's important. But this reset password link is important. So I'm actually gonna copy this and go and enter it in here. And it takes you to this reset password screen that I also built. It tells you to type in the new password and confirm that new password. So we can do that. Then I get a screen saying reset password, your password is successfully reset. Go back to the Cut Corners mobile app to log in, which I can do. Come back here and log into the app. And the reset password worked. Got a new password. Now I want to show how did I architect this feature? Like how did I do the system design on it before I actually started the code? And then lastly, I'll show you the code. So I came up with this architectural diagram to kind of show the flow and show the different pieces that are in this architecture. Here you have the user on this side. They open the mobile app. This is the app represented here. In the mobile app, like I was doing, they'll submit the password reset using the little form. And then what that will do is send a password reset request or like an API request to my actual backend, which I call the web API here. On the web API, it's going to create an auth token. This is a code that will allow me to keep track of password requests and how long I should honor them. I'll store that auth token in the database with the associated user it's with, and then I will have the web API send a request with that token inside of an email with the reset password page link inside of an email to my email service, which I'm using Resend, which is a third-party service to handle the email sending. From there, that email service will send that email to the user. The user will open that email and click on the page link that's inside the email. Inside the query string of that page link, I have the token so that I can verify that token against my system on the back end. Once the user hits that page link in the email, they get redirected to the reset password page. The user there will insert their new password, and then that page will send an API request back to the web API, which will validate the auth token, which I have timed at 30 minutes. So reset password link only works for 30 minutes long. I can change that to whatever I want it to be. And then it will find the user that's associated with that token from the database. It's the database step here. And then it will update the password in the database. If the password's fine, if everything checks out auth-wise and everything's fine, then it'll update the password. And then the web API, after everything's successful, and if it fails, it'll notify a failure. But if everything's successful, it'll notify successful update back to the reset password page. That reset password page will then switch to let the user know that the password reset was successful. And that's basically the full flow. And one might ask, why would I build this whole system for just resetting the password instead of just using like a third-party service like Firebase to just let it do it all for me? Well, there's a few reasons why. Like if you work for a company, it will want to leverage those things that they already have to build a feature out like this, to be part of their custom architecture. There's trade-offs for it. So like having another company build and manage it for you, you don't have to worry about building it yourself. You don't have to worry about if it goes down, fixing it. But that comes at a cost. You have to pay them a lot more money than if you built it yourself. So it's a trade-off. Some companies choose to pay that cost to have it managed, and some companies choose to build it themselves. That's why when you interview, sometimes an interviewer may ask you how to design a system like this and make you draw a diagram like this. Sometimes you will need to build a system like this if a company's not willing to pay another company to do it for them. which that happens all the time. That being said, I built this app in Xamarin, and so Xamarin has pages and controllers behind the pages that manage the logic. I'm not gonna go into all that. I will share all this code on my GitHub. It's all available publicly. When you click reset, it will send the reset password request. It will send it to an API endpoint that I have, which was in my architecture. So it sends that request with the email with the email address in it in order to go to the next part of the flow. So here's my API endpoint that gets sent to from the app. This file takes in an email address as one of the parameters, and then I look in the database to see what user has that email address. I generate a token, like I said, which is just a GUID. I set an expiration time for 30 minutes for that token, and then I insert that token into the database with all that information. Then I start building out an email that's gonna have in it the link to the password reset page with the token in the query string so that it can tie it back to what I just stored in the database. And it basically tells the user that you only have 30 minutes or this will expire. And then I send the email, my other code here, which I'm using Resend. It's a third-party email sending provider or service, email service. It's pretty simple. You just put the from to emails in there, put a subject, and put the HTML body. And then all this code is just plain PHP code to just send a request to a service. And if it's successful, I just let the front end know that it was successful or it failed. If I show an error, if it's not successful, then show success if it is successful. So that's basically how that part works. Then, from there, once that email service sends off that email, the user will click a link to this password reset page. That's over here. This is the password reset page that I created. It's pretty simple. HTML page with a new password you enter. You confirm that password. Has a hidden field for the token to send that back to the server. And one thing important, if there's no token added, then this page doesn't work. So it needs to be a token on the query string. I have some JavaScript here that basically validates that the new password and confirmed password are the same and shows an error if not. Then I have a fetch request here back to the API to try to send off the new password that the user tried to put in. And I also send the token with it, like I said before. If everything's successful, I send them to a success page, which it's just a simple page here that I built that just says everything's successful, which I think I showed y'all over here. And so then where does this go? So then that's back on the API in the save file. Here I check the token, I get the new password, input it. I get the current time and I compare it with the expiration time. So if the password link has expired, then I will not honor this password update request. I find the user ID based on the token. If everything checks out, then I update the password with the new password for that user. If not, then I show an error back to the user as well. And so that's basically how it works. I will share all this code on my GitHub so you can review it yourself and build something like this if you want. But all in all, this is how I built this feature. Please let me know if you have questions. Let me know if anything you want to discuss. I think this is a great case study for an interview where you need to do system design, or for just learning how you may have to build features if you join a company that has an existing architecture and you need to add to it. Let me know what you think. Appreciate you watching the video, and see you next time.